This is a stimulus check update for May 1st. I'm going over the current delivery schedule for checks if you haven't received yours yet, a new IRS News Release that just came out yesterday, the answer to the $500 that are missing for dependents with the stimulus check, as well as answers to your questions that you leave down in the comments below. But first, I'm David, and if you want the latest stimulus check information, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm producing daily videos on updates, as well as what's going on with the second stimulus check that may be coming soon. So April 29th was the day that a lot of Social Security, Survivor, Disability Non-Filers, SSI, were expected to receive a check in their bank account via direct deposit or direct express card. So some people have reported that they've already gotten their checks. It should have come 29th, 30th, as well as today, May 1st, and hopefully over the next few days. If you have already gotten your check, please let me know down in the comments below and let me know your status, like if you're SSI, SSDI. I think it'll help a lot of people give more hope to see when they're getting their check. And if you haven't received yours yet, let me know your status and if you were expected to get it by a certain day via direct deposit or the Get My Payment tool. I think this is a good way we could all help each other out down in the comments below. Unfortunately, still no date for veterans or SSI non-filers with dependents. They said early May, it's now early May. A lot of you are losing hope. I see it in the comments. You think it's never coming, you think it's a scam. And you have every right to think that because the government just is constantly screwing everybody over and over again, especially veterans. Unfortunately, veterans receiving solely VA benefits have not received a date yet when to receive the stimulus check. This is around 15 million veterans who served our country, protected our freedom, and did so much for us to live the lives that we're living in America, have not received a stimulus check date yet. It is not fair how the IRS and the government has treated the veterans, not even giving them a date when majority of America has already received their checks. According to the IRS, they are waiting for veterans who want to claim dependents before they could send checks to all veterans claiming dependents or no dependents. I think they're stalling because if we look at the last hard deadline on April 22nd, where they wanted Social Security recipients, SSDI, to claim their dependents, and then they sent the check 7 days later. Little do people know, only 2% out of the around 50 million people who were supposed to receive their check were claiming dependents. If we still use that 2% number of veterans who are claiming dependents and waiting for them to do so, that's around 300,000 people who are completely holding up the whole process for the rest of the 15 million veterans to receive their checks. I know I keep talking about this in every video, but it is not fair to veterans that they're treated this way. If you agree with me or you think I'm overreacting to this veteran situation, let me know down in the comments below. And if your adjusted gross income was $20,000 or less, then you'll be expected to receive a paper check, which is going to be mailed out today. It's not going to come into your mailbox today, May 1st, but mailed out. If we look at the schedule here, according to last week, the reports that I've seen with April 24th, for these people, it came around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Expect there to be delays because according to this Washington Post, if your payment has already been processed, you'll get a check that could take up to 14 days to receive, which I don't understand it either, but that is the current schedule with people who are receiving paper checks. Next, let's go into a news release that the IRS just put out yesterday, April 30th. Basically, they're trying to address a lot of the questions that people have in terms of the Get My Payment tool, why people who haven't received their $500 for dependents. So I'm going to pretty much sum up this 10-minute article into 2 minutes for you. First question that they address is, Get My Payment says my economic impact payment was sent to an account I don't recognize. Why is that and how do I get it? So this is an unnecessarily long answer to this question. I'll just sum it up for you. If you want to get this news release, you could click the link down in the description below if you want to read it for yourself. But basically, it's saying a couple of reasons but I'll also add a few more reasons why. If you actually get through the Get My Payment tool, or what I like to call the Waste My Time tool, because it's still not working for a lot of Americans, if you get through and it says that you're expecting a direct deposit on a certain day and it's going into this bank account with the last 4 digits, and you don't recognize the last 4 digits, there's a few different reasons. If you filed your taxes with a tax preparer like TurboTax, Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block, what they do sometimes is they create a temporary account for your tax refund to go into that temporary account. They take some money off the top for fees and then put it into your actual bank account. It seems that the IRS is still having issues with sending direct deposits to this temporary account. Those tax preparer companies are reporting that they're taking the money from those temporary accounts and putting it into the right bank account, or they're completely bypassing the temporary account and going into the right bank account. Also, people who wanted their tax refund loaded onto a debit card from these tax preparers like the Emerald card or the TurboTax card, depending on how you received your tax refund, the IRS has the information of that bank account number, which is kind of a temporary account. And just remember, these are robots working here. It's not actual humans looking at this information. It's software, so they're probably not checking the bank account information to make sure that it's actually your bank account information. Then it says that if for whatever reason that bank account rejects the payment, like let's say the money, your stimulus check goes into that account and it isn't recognized or taken out, then it gets returned back to the IRS. Then the IRS is going to give you a check. But if the IRS, let's say you moved or whatever, according to this, once the return payment is processed by the IRS, the payment will automatically be mailed to the address on the 2019 or 2018 tax return, or the address with the US Postal Service, whichever is more current. So I'm assuming here that if you moved, they're going to cross-reference your address on your 2018-2019 tax return with your current address with the US Postal Service and send it to the most current address to make sure those addresses match. Before we move on, I also want to address a direct express card error that a lot of people have been getting. So if you are expecting to receive the stimulus check on your direct express card and you get through the Get My Payment tool and it has the last 4 digits, doesn't match your direct express card, it's actually going into a Comerica bank account, which will then go onto your direct express card. So I know a lot of people were expressing concern thinking that it's going to go into someone else's account. It's not the case. It will go onto your direct express card. Why am I receiving an error message when entering my personal information or tax information? So I've tried to answer this question so many times, but honestly, it just doesn't work. Even for me personally, I can't get through the Get My Payment tool. I've had my tax returns right in front of me, typing it word for word, case sensitive, whether it's all caps or whatever. They're addressing this. I just think it doesn't work for most people. And no matter what people do, it isn't going to work. So I don't want to waste your time and make you stress out more and get more headaches with the Get My Payment tool. But here are the tips that they say. So when it comes to address, you have to make sure that the address matches exactly what's on your tax return. So here's an example of the 2 different ways the same address could be appearing. And then also you have to put your exact USPS zip code. I guess not just the 5-digit, but also the 4-digit as well that comes after that. Then basically saying that if you enter it 3 times, then you're going to be locked out for 24 hours. They do their updates overnight, so just check one time in the morning if you want to do the Get My Payment tool. I gave up about a week ago. I haven't even tried in a week. I'm just gonna wait it out. And this is a really big question here. I think the amount of economic impact payment is incorrect. What can I do? So they're referring to the $500 that should have been added automatically to the $1,200 payment. So if this applies to you, you claimed a dependent and you were expecting that $500 to come along with your $1,200 stimulus check. You already got your $1,200 or $2,400. You were expecting to get $500 per dependent. So there's a few different qualifications for dependent. I'm not going to go over this, but assuming that you meet all those qualifications, basically the answer to this is if you are entitled, assuming that the dependents are qualified and all that, you're entitled, you will be able to claim the additional amount when you file your 2020 tax return. So you're going to have to wait until 2021 in order to get that $500 per dependent. I was under the impression that everyone's going to get it with the $1,200. Then the rest of this news release is just saying that there's no action to be taken. You just have to wait for your stimulus check to come, assuming you're not claiming any dependents. And then watch out for scams. Yeah, so tell anyone who's in isolation, your mom, dad, grandmother, grandfather, not to give any information to an IRS person via email, phone, social media, physical mail, someone coming to their house with a IRS emblem on their shirt. Just tell them to be really careful. There's a lot of scams going on now. Next, let's talk about the reported 7 million stimulus checks that went to dead people, before living people, and before a lot of people like you who should have gotten their check first. That's a whole other issue, but here, stimulus checks sent to dead people should be returned by Treasury Secretary Mnuchin. So if we scroll down here, he says, you're not supposed to keep that payment, Mnuchin told the paper. We're checking the databases, but there could be a scenario where we missed something, and yes, the heirs should be returning that money. So finally, they're giving a definitive answer that if your loved one, if your spouse who passed away or whoever passed away and they got a stimulus check in their account, according to Mnuchin, it's going to have to be returned. So now let's jump into my comments and I'll answer some of the questions you leave. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comments below. I try to answer and respond there. If not, I'll try to put it in the following video. So Shannon K says, I'm on SSA with 2 dependents. I received my stimulus on the 29th. However, nothing for my 2 girls. I did the non-filers tool and return was accepted. I don't normally file taxes, so why would I file 2020? Doesn't make sense. I agree, Shannon. You're not the only one. As I mentioned before, a lot of people haven't received money for their dependents. Even though there were deadlines to do so, the IRS was urging people to get in there and claim dependents. I don't understand the urgency if no one was receiving it now when they needed it. They could have just done this later on in the year. Next question comes from Aaron Shelton. Will I get the full amount of $1,200 if my account is overdrawn? This is a good question because there's been reports that USAA has been garnishing stimulus checks because accounts were overdrawn in the bank account. In the CARES Act, there is no protection for people with overdrawn bank accounts, but the IRS and the government has pleaded with banks to not take the stimulus checks, especially in this time of need. So the bank can take your stimulus check. They're legally allowed to, according to the CARES Act, but they may be nice and they may not take it from you. So if you are expecting your stimulus check in an overdrawn account, I'd recommend maybe creating a new bank account if you're expecting a paper check, if you're expecting direct deposit. Unfortunately, your check may potentially be taken. Next question comes from that guy. He says, hey everyone, I want to ask a question. My son gets a SSI check and I filed him on my taxes. Does that mean he won't get a $1,200 check? So assuming your son is over 17, no, he won't get a stimulus check if you filed him as, or you claimed him as a dependent. That was probably one of the biggest mistakes of the CARES Act, is that adult dependents, whether 70 years old or whatever, claimed as a dependent are not receiving stimulus checks. So I don't want to make this video too long. I'm going to cut it here, but if you want to get free money, free stocks, I have a spreadsheet down in the description below. By signing up for these investment apps, they give you free stocks, free money. It all depends. There's about 10 of them down there. If you want to watch more videos, you could click either one of these over here. Stay safe, take care. Hopefully you get your money soon if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.